What's up, guys? Hey, we had a great race in Philadelphia. The 250s, I'll get to that tomorrow, but I want to talk about the 450s. A lot of people feel like it's over. Jett's got this in the bag. I'm going to explain to you why that's not the case. Sexton fired another mechanic? Oh boy, this is rough. Sexton, it's not the mechanic. Anyway, remember guys, subscribe. I'm not sure why, but people are still getting unsubscribed. So if you have subscribed, just double check, make sure you're still subscribed. And if not, hit that button. Thanks guys, let's get into this.
You need people like me so you can point your fucking fingers and say, that's the bad guy.
So Jett Lawrence is phenomenal on that motorcycle. It's so fun to watch him ride. He does things that I just go, wow, he's so good. He's so technical. He's so smooth. He's so smart, but he still has a propensity to make mistakes. If you don't believe me, go back to that heat race. First turn on the ground. If you go back to timed qualifying, second session, he's going to drop in that fast lap. Literally the turn right before the finish, he dumps it. He still makes mistakes. It's 12 points, but this thing's far from over. We got 2 rounds, and if last year taught us anything, it's not over until they hand over that plate and say, it's done, we're moving on to outdoors. Cooper Webb. Man, this was a disappointing round. I'm sure Coop is pissed off, but it's so unlike him with pressure on like this to tighten up or get arm pump. It's just not, it's not something in his career that we've ever talked about is, you know, Webb not coming through in the clutch. And that's exactly what happened. He was right there. He had every opportunity. Tomac moved over for him and let him go after Jett. I'll talk about that in a second. The table was set for him to do what he needed to do, and he didn't come through. Not only did he not come through with chasing down Jett, I mean, he rode really bad. He got arm pump and just faded back. Listen, Cooper's a dog, and he kept fighting that whole time. Most guys, when they get arm pump, you watch Eli Tomac, when he gets arm pump, he finishes 12th. Cooper Webb still fought for that podium all the way to the end. Sexton got by him. Sexton's riding really good, but then Anderson at the very end, and Cooper just did not want to let him have it, and he tried everything, but Anderson had the line going into that turn, and that's the classic takeout from the outside. One of my favorite moves. You chop over, you get the line and hit the brakes, you send them over the high side. It wasn't dirty. It was the last turn for a podium spot. I see where Anderson's coming from. Good on him. But yeah, Cooper Webb, this one stings a lot. You could see when they held him for that interview afterward, he was not pleased. But don't think he's going to give up. He will not give up until this thing's over. He's always dangerous. And like I said, Jett has a propensity to make these mistakes. Take either of those mistakes he made, put them in the main event, and we're looking at a whole different series. We got 2 more rounds to close this thing out, and both these guys are still alive. Eli Tomac, watching him was interesting out there. So not so much of the way he was riding. He didn't ride really good. He clearly wanted to get out of Cooper Webb's way, which I didn't expect. I honestly did not expect that. But that tells me certain things. That tells me he wants to stay in good with the team. That tells me he's probably sticking around. That means, you know, it's already been reported that he's going outdoors. Maybe he's sticking around for longer. And if so, I hope that's the case, because the sport's better with Eli Tomac in it. Even if he's not your dominant guy, Eli Tomac is a staple. He's a guy that people can look up to. But yeah, letting his teammate go, that's not something I expected from Eli Tomac, and honestly, I was pretty disappointed by it. And it made me wonder, like with gambling now in the sport, how do they handle this? Are they pissed off? Do they call foul when somebody lets a team go by? I say no. This is something the gamblers have to account. This is a part of the sport that we've had forever. You cannot rule it when guys don't do it, obviously, as long as they don't do like what Jett did in, you know, last year at Chicago, where he waves him and says, oh yeah, I just gave him a gift. As long as you don't do that, letting people buy, letting teammates buy, team tactics, it's a part of the sport. It's something we're never going to get rid of. The gamblers are going to have to figure this in to their odds making and just count for this to possibly happen. It is what it is. That's how they're going to have to adjust to it, because they will never be able to legislate that out. I mean, you can't prove that Tomac didn't, you know, just have a bad race. There's no way to do that. So gamblers, you're just going to have to deal with it. Hey guys, if you want to improve your athletic performance, go over to Complete Racing Solutions. Coach has an energy drink based on your sweat rate. So he will actually replenish your body at the rate it needs to be replenished. So go to CompleteRacingSolutions.com. Epic Garage Designs has partnered with A1 Garage here in Las Vegas. They're giving away a free garage makeover. So go to A1 Garage on their Instagram. Register to win your garage makeover from EpicGarageDesigns.com. Man, I will say, in this press conference after the race, when Sexton makes the podium, he's up there. Not one person asked him about firing his mechanic. Yes, the mechanic, Zimmerman, that he brought from Honda to come with him at KTM. And how do we not call out KTM for blatantly lying about what happened to his throttle? So if a rock truly broke the throttle housing and it stuck on him, how is that the mechanic's fault? How do you fire a mechanic because of a weird rock incident? So either KTM's lying or Sexton's an egomaniac crazy man. And it could be both. It could be both, because I've heard his dad always blames the mechanic. And that's been throughout his professional career. I can't tell you how many practice mechanics they burned through. They ran Jade Dungy off. Jade Dungy, Ryan Dungy's brother, who is a better mechanic than Jade Dungy? Like, he's really good. He's calm. He's got the family pedigree. How do you say that guy isn't somebody qualified to be your mechanic? And Sexton at one point ran him off. Firing mechanics is one thing, but firing a guy you got to quit his job at Honda and come with you to KTM, I'm sorry. I'd like to know the details on that, but if that's true, that's despicable, and that really disappoints me, and I hope that somewhere they have some sort of a bonus in his contract to where if he is let go, he's paid out the full amount and he can go find something else. But man, I feel bad for Zimmerman. Things happen. Bikes sometimes have issues. Occasionally a bolt comes loose, and guess what? It's not always the mechanic's fault. Yes, they make mistakes. They're human beings. But if you felt confident enough to get him to come with you from Honda to KTM, you owe him a little bit of leeway on that one. Come on. See, Chase Sexton, I'm very disappointed in you. With that said, he rode really good to come back from that brutal slam where, I don't know if his throttle stuck. I don't know exactly what happened because they obviously lied to us about a rock. But what I do know for sure, Sexton hit the ground hard. Man, there's not many people tougher than him. Him and McAdoo have to have the highest pain tolerances of any human beings I've ever met. And he came back and rode his ass off. He kind of caught up to Jett, but that's Jett's MO. Jett always manages the race and he lets guys get close, but not close enough. And if they get there, he always seemed to have a little bit more. So would he have caught Jett? I don't know. But anyway, it's confidence inspiring to see Sexton finding that speed. He is the merchant of speed. And it's like he gets power when he fires a mechanic. Apparently he fired one. He's got more power. So maybe KTM just needs to sign up with a temp agency and just hire a bunch of mechanics to bring in that they can fire one every week. Maybe he'll be champion if they do that. I don't know. It's disappointing to see people treated wrongly, and I don't know the ins and outs of it, but I do know that here's the major things I know. He brought him from Honda. He had an incident, and now he's not there. It doesn't look good. It's nice to see Jason Anderson, El Hombre, finding his form, looking loose out there, charging forward. He found some really good lines, caught up, and he got on the podium. He got by Coop on that last straightaway. And that takes balls. That takes a solid guy to know that Cooper Webb's fighting for a championship and you're going to squeeze him for a last little bit. But guess what? Jason's not riding for friends or anything like that. These guys are out there for themselves. And that shows when he takes that podium from Cooper Webb. He didn't want to put him down, but Webb wasn't exactly giving it to him. So it was just a racing incident, and that's just two guys racing hard, looking for a position. Webb would probably do the same thing if it were the other shoe, if it were the other way around. But the big thing I got out of Anderson is he's talking about Kawasaki allowing him to finally make the changes, and he said he wasn't happy, and we'd heard rumblings that he wasn't happy with the bike. But it seems weird because just a couple years ago, he was so happy to go over to Kawasaki because he left Husqvarna and everything was just working. Now it's not. But he's struggling with the same things that Tomac struggled with at Kawasaki. They're a very data-driven team, and they don't listen to the riders nearly as much as I think they should. But the bottom line is you're putting a guy on that bike who's risking his life out there. If he wants something to make himself feel comfortable, you got to give it to him. You cannot just hold off and say, oh, well, this says, the data says, the chart says this is better. You got to go with this and just figure out how to ride it. It's not their ass on the line. It's Jason Anderson's out there risking life and limb. One incident can change your life forever in this sport. And if that rider wants something that the chart doesn't say is the best because he thinks it's more comfortable, you give it to him. And I wish Kawasaki would learn that. I'm not a big fan of Dan Fahey as a manager. I think he's a bit of a yes man. And it'll be interesting to see how Jorge Prado adapts to that team, and can he come in and make changes that he wants to, because he is coming in with, a couple world championships and a pedigree that says, I know what I need. Guys, head over to Ride Strapped. Get yourself goggles, glasses, shirts. This is a patriotic company that supports motocross and supports me. So hit up ridestrap.com and I would appreciate it. If you're shipping anything using a truck, use Precision Transport. Precision Transport is a family-owned company. They have reasonable prices and they believe in customer service. And guess what? They're motocrossers. Support them, guys. Pretransport.com and you'll get the best shipping for your dollar. I was so happy to see some really likable privateers putting in good rides at Philadelphia. Grant Harlan, who rode so well last year. I mean, he really turned a corner. I mean, he's got national number 23, but he went to the Des Nations Duh Nations, however you guys want to say it. Des Nations, Duh Nations. Anyway, he went over to that race and broke his pelvis, a horrendous injury that wasn't his fault. He landed on a guy off a big jump and he's been out and it's just been a hard recovery. He wasn't fully recovered when he started racing. He's racing himself into shape, but it's nice to see him finding that form and building and looking really good. So Kevin Moran's, the businessman. Kevin Moran's out there hauling ass, making a main event. He's been hurt most of this year, but it's nice to see him get it together and get himself back in a main event. And a guy I noticed in practice riding really good is Jerry Robin. Jerry was hauling the mail. Some days this guy looks like a world beater. I'm not sure. I wish Jerry could bottle this. If he could bottle this, he would be a top guy all the time. I don't know if it's the endurance. I don't know what it is with Jerry not being able to put it all together. But some days I watch him and I think, there's no way this guy couldn't be a top 10 guy. But hey, it was nice to see him riding good, getting in the main and building off of that. So thanks, guys. Check out the MMA channel. I would appreciate it. If you need a real estate agent in Las Vegas, I'm your guy. If you're anywhere else in the world, I'll set you up with a Berkshire Hathaway agent that will help you out. So thanks, guys. Later.